My Teen Romantic Comedy Snafu, or Oregairu for short, really occupies a special place in romance anime in my mind. I don't think I've ever seen a rom-com be able to deliver so thoroughly on both the comedy and the romance. Able to be witty and sharp in one moment, goofy and over the top in the next, and then quietly devastating right after. It's a complete story, taking the perfect amount of time to let these characters gradually grow and change, to where they are truly unrecognizable at the end of the last season, in the best possible way. And we don't talk about the Season 3 OVA, ever. One of the fascinating things about Oregairu has to be the shift in style the show had between its first season and the next two. The production studio changed, and as a result, the characters, settings, and even animation were completely different. The most surprising part, though, is that this shift completely works. Accompanying this new presentation is a hard turn to more difficult and mature material, a complexity that moves in tandem with the more serious visuals. As a result, the change is definitionally unsettling, but in practice, it's so perfectly matched with the tone of the subject matter that there's a flow to it all. So that's what I want to look at today. Why does Season 1 style and Seasons 2 and 3 style suit their respective stories? And how does this result in a romance anime that can have it all? Love that is moving and important, and also comedy that is equal parts hilarious and clever. The first season of Oregairu leans heavily into the comedy aspect of the story. We first get to know these characters as caricatures, overblown archetypes of real personalities. Hachiman is a true misanthrope, attempting to trudge through school with as little contact with others as possible. He has a superiority complex, believing himself greater than social structures and norms, while simultaneously able to decipher them better than anyone else. He is, of course though, a loser, bullheaded in his insistence that his way is the best. Yukino is cold and harsh, sometimes seeming to relish phrasing things in the bluntest possible way. She is also lonely, and meaner to herself than anyone else. And Yui is kind-hearted and trusting to a fault, and also maybe a little simple in how she approaches the world. The first season of this show really enjoys taking these giant wrecking balls of personalities and smashing them into each other, and the visual style accentuates this approach perfectly. The blockier, more cartoonish designs are all about taking these blunt character traits and making them front and center. Hachiman's dead fish eyes are beady and seem locked in a state of perpetual judgment. His spine is locked in a permanent slouch. Yukino stands tall and proud, but often has her face turned down and her eyes closed in a pose of disappointment. And Yui's blissful ignorance is built into her big eyes and perpetual smile. Even the side characters all feel like outsized versions of themselves, their shapes and faces better suited to strong emotions and comedy. The athletic festival to close the season is a great example of this, where the ridiculousness of the costumes and competition are a match for these visuals. Season 1 is a perfect fit for its style because its content embraces a certain bluntness of character and comedy that can be mirrored by the cartoony presentation, a debut season that sets the stage admirably. Seasons 2 and 3 take that premise and immediately shift into deeper inspections of its ramifications. What if these three strong-willed characters had to make real decisions and deal with the consequences? In some ways, it's like the fun is over from this point on. The second season is essentially watching Hachiman try to push his way through wall after wall of problems with the same stubborn nihilism, and feeling his life degrade as he lets opportunity after opportunity to lean on those around him slip by. This is not a negative though, as his eventual acceptance of friendship and support is a redemptive moment of the highest order, gratifying in just the right way. These story beats, though, revolve around real subtlety of emotion, and this is where the new visual style becomes essential. There is more detail in the ways that the characters look and move, a softer approach to their designs. All of their defining traits are still there, but dialed back a hair. I think that this is important because of how much more they have to change across these seasons. When Hachiman is fighting against his very nature to reach out to his friends, we need to be able to see that struggle without a word. When love sparks and slowly ignites between him and Yukino, we need to watch it bubble under their masks. And when Yui fights against the fate that is keeping her from Hachiman, we need to feel the hurt that tears away at her before eventually forcing its way out. It's not that these broad emotions couldn't be shown in the Season 1 visuals, but this style is what allows those shades of gray to come through, and is just as important in its complexity as Season 1 was in its starkness. Look no further than the end of Season 1 and the beginning of Season 2 for a perfect example of this. In the penultimate episode of Season 1, Hachiman goads Minami into fulfilling her duties as chair of the Culture Festival, sacrificing his own reputation to reach the desired outcome. Right at the start of Season 2, he does the same thing, confessing to Hina to spare Kakeru's feelings. Both times, he throws himself into the line of fire for the good of the group, but the different visuals provide completely different context. In Season 1, we really get to see the ugliness of Hachiman and his methods. Sure, he is helping out his friends, but there's a grotesqueness to the satisfaction he feels in manipulating others this way. The harshness of the appearance elevates these feelings to the max. But in Season 2, it's all about how there's ripple effects to his decisions. He can hurt those he's trying to protect with his calculating methods, and there's layers to emotions that he doesn't understand as well as he thinks. Yukino's disdain, Hachiman's stubborn defiance, Yui's discomfort at this conflict are all etched into their faces. And then Yui's outburst over how upset Hachiman is making her is communicated as much in the amazing visuals as it is in the stellar vocal work. This anime is built on its complicated characters, and the style of Seasons 2 and 3 is wonderfully suited to expressing those subtler emotions. Oregairu is one of those special romance anime that sticks with you long after you watch it. I was surprised to see that it's been over half a year since I last made a video on it, since I mull over it so often. One of its real differentiating factors is that visual shift from the first season to the next two. And it's not just that it had a change in style. That on its own would just be a footnote to the anime. What makes it so great is how perfectly it matches the way that the actual story changes and morphs from one season to the next. I know some people like to favor one style over the other, but I really think that both are special for different reasons. At the end of the day, it's the combination of both that gives the show such range, and makes Oregairu a real classic. And that ends today's episode of Love and Anime. If you enjoyed the video today and like video essays about romance, anime, and romance anime, liking and subscribing helps a ton and will keep you in the loop, as does hitting the hype button on the mobile app. I'm Slam Anime, and I'll see you next time.